Hello everyone, it's Terry in Danu's Irish Herb Garden, and like most people in the British Isles, we've had horrendous weather for the last few weeks with rain and gales and wind, and it's been a nightmare trying to get outside and do anything in the garden. And today we have a day of respite. There's no wind, there's no rain, and it's quite mild. So I'm out here redeveloping this little bed that I put in a couple of years ago. All I did was I laid down a few stones and backfilled with soil and compost. And I want to replenish the soil now with some seaweed that we were very kindly given. And I find that if I put anything on here now, it's just going to roll off, because once I go to plant into it, it's just going to fall off the edge. So I'm making a little wicker barrier or a little fence out of willow. So I've cut my willow, and it's a simple case of weaving in and out between these little sticks that I've put in. And it'll just allow me to put some seaweed behind that. So I'm going to increase the soil level about 2 to 4 inches. By the time it settles down and begins to rot away, I top it with compost, and then this little willow fence is going to hold everything in place, and we'll get more use from this section here, which is pretty poor, very rocky and shallow. So all I have to do is, I've been starting along here already, and it's just a case of weaving in and out between these posts that I put in. The posts were willow that I harvested last year, and I've left to season so that we could have some kindling. So I think when it's all done, it's going to look quite nice. And this is going to be an extra part for the herb garden. I'm going to put in here some burdock, which a lot of people might be horrified at the sound of that, because it is regarded as a weed, but it's got so many virtues in terms of liver health that I think I would like to have it here in the garden, and so this is going to be a dedicated spot. This wall behind it will hopefully give some shelter and some warmth to everything that grows in here. It won't all be burdock, but it will be herbs, and burdock will be a part of that. Because obviously we don't have length as long as the whole section, you just have to weave them in and out when you've kind of almost finished this section. So I'm going to start going along here and then weave back into this side, and that way we should have a pretty strong little fence to hold in that seaweed and the compost that I'll be putting in. So I think this idea is a really good way to make your garden look more attractive, to use resources that I already have, such as the willow, which had to be trimmed back anyway. And in the original garden there, the wood that we used to make the raised beds, after 10 or 12 years, it's all beginning to rot away, and I've noticed the beds are collapsing and spreading. I want to hold them in place. So I think I'll do this over there as well, and I'll let you know how I get on, how it works. But I love this idea of using one resource for something else which is beneficial. So I'm just going to carry on with this, and I'll show you it when it's all finished. So yesterday I finished making the little willow fence, and now I'm filling up behind it with the seaweed, which is really well rotted and will take no time at all to break down with the wind and the rain that we're having. And when that has been left to settle for maybe a month, I'll put some of our homemade compost on the top, and then I can pop in the young seedlings that are ready by then, or seeds, or whatever I decide to do, and hopefully they will thrive. But the seaweed is important because it's so full of minerals. It's just a brilliant food. If you're not near the coast and you can't get your own seaweed, apparently a lot of garden centres sell liquid seaweed feed or some kind of seaweed powder. So you can get hold of it wherever you are. And I'm going to keep going now till this is done, and then I'm going to move over to some other beds and do the same thing. In the meantime, please subscribe and leave any comments, any tips that you might have. And I'll see you soon. Bye for now.